off a daily fantasy. His number too high, then I'm probably fading him. He been on the road, he gon' eat up my salary. I hit up by, he gon' lie before lock. Play back to back, then I probably won't pick on the Dfs Bachelor, good as it gets. Build a few liners and hit me a leg. He had a good game, but it might be a trick. Log in the Slack so I know who to pick. Sharing our liners, we all gon' get rich. New to this game, you should come to the pad. You might want some cash and get a good laugh. Dfs Sports, we gon' run up a bag. He heard every game and it's making me mad. You buying your lineups, I think you a cheater. Dfs Bachelor, he the new leader, yeah.
What's up, everyone? Welcome back to the Bachelor Pad. I, of course, am your host of Dfs Bachelor, and it is football time. I cannot believe it's back. I'm so excited, and so, true to form, I couldn't wait any longer. Typically, we'll do the first looks on Monday and Tuesday, but we're going to go over our first look at the 12-game main slate for Week 1 of the NFL season on Fanduel and Draftkings. A big cheers to you all. It's been a long, long year. It's been a long wait for the football season, a lot of apprehension. Would this actually happen? Well, we're here. We're 4 days away from kickoff. Very, very excited. So this is going to be our first look. The first look videos, if you will, grant me some time here to kind of set how everything's going to go this NFL season schedule-wise and how you can find all the content, etc. First things first, a big thank you for all of your support. To those of you who are just returning, who only play football, you only watch during the football season, welcome back. It's great to see you all. I'm super happy that you're here. Thank you so much. Thank you for liking the video. That helps the channel more than you know. I really appreciate hitting that like button if you're so inclined to do so. If you're new to the channel, please hit that subscribe button if you're so inclined. Be sure to leave a comment in the comment section. Like the video. By doing all those three things, liking the video, subscribing to the channel, and leaving a comment in the comment section, you qualify for our weekly $25 PayPal giveaway. We'll announce that winner for our Monday first look shows. Now that NFL season is back. Of course, we'll have, when Monday Night Football starts next Monday, we'll have the single game and, of course, next week, doubleheader DFS shows Monday morning, maybe late Sunday night, depending on how the day goes and the energy level from the weekend. Then Tuesdays or Wednesdays, we'll have our value plays, our top, salary saving type cheat plays for each position. Wednesdays, we'll get our Thursday Night Football video out. We'll still do our Millionaire Maker Core 4 video. Our final look on Friday night, all for DFS. So all that stuff will be right here. Tons and tons of content throughout the week for the NFL. And this year, I am pleased to announce I'm part of the Sportsbook Review team handicapping the NFL this year. So you'll be able to find me 4 days a week over at SBR as well. I will leave a link to that channel in the video description below. We're going to be doing the opening lines, covering, we'll be live broadcasting Monday Night Football. So next week I'll be live for 7 hours, broadcasting both games, talking bets, having some drinks together, answering questions. Thursdays we'll be covering the whole slate. Also Sunday mornings, I've been asked this for years, we will be live an hour before lock over at Sportsbook Review, an hour before kickoff. And yes, that's a handicapping site where we're handicapping games, but you can come over there and ask any DFS question you want during that live show an hour before lock. So be sure to subscribe here. Come over and check us out at SBR. There's going to be a lot more football content from me this year than in years past, and I'm really excited to announce that. So I hope you will all join me for all of that. It should be really exciting. I've been asked to do that for years, and so here we are, and it's a great opportunity. So big cheers, man. Cheers, cheers, cheers. Very, very good stuff happening. Lots of football content. Also, don't forget, as usual, my player pools will adjust throughout the week. You can get access to my player pool, my specific one that I'm using for my optimized lineups. It comes with great information. You can see the snaps played, targets, rushes, carries, history versus the team, the player's defense versus the position, the over-under totals, all that stuff. For both sites, Fanduel and Draftkings, you can get access to this tool, the lineup optimizer, mass lineup generator, my player pool, cash game optimizers, and not just my player pool for football, but also for NBA, MLB, and hockey. You can click the link in the video description below and try Draft Dashboard for 30 days for $1. Be sure to check out that video description. That's where the link for the SBR YouTube page will be as well, where you can find me over there and all the live content we're putting out there. Ask any questions you want Thursday night, Monday nights, Sunday mornings. Also on Tuesdays, our opening line show. We have a great guest this week. One of the top executives from a top sports book out there. So we have lots of great stuff over there. So just lots of ways to find us, lots of ways to find me. I appreciate all your support. Thank you all so much. Also, don't forget to check out Overlay DFS. It's one of my favorite new websites to play, DFS sites to play. Make sure you hit them up at Overlay DFS on Twitter. Ask them about their first deposit bonus. They have some great games. You're basically just picking players head to head, deciding who will get the most fantasy points. I've had a killer month in NBA on Overlay. I've won more there than I have on the other sites. So it's a lot of fun. They got the slump buster bonuses. So if you don't cash certain times in a row, you get your entry fees back. Lots of great stuff over there at Overlay DFS as well. And don't forget, you can follow me on Twitter at Dfs Bachelor. Any video I'm going to have out, I'll have a link there on my Twitter feed. Any news, information, etc. for all the sports that's anything DFS related, I'll have it up there on my Twitter page as well. So our first look video, some of you may remember, some of you may not. I usually just do a top 5 at each position for the main slate early in the week, just as we're first looking at it. Of course, this year is a little bit crazy. This is going to be one of the more unique week ones. We haven't seen a lot of action. I've been able to watch a few scrimmages and stuff when you deep dive and get through there and reading a lot of camp reports, but we didn't have a preseason. And week 1 is always a lot of unknowns. This year, a little bit more than usual. So this is our early top 5 first look, week 1. Let's get after it. Cheers again. Let's have a drink and talk football. Thank God. Thanking God we are back to football season. This is awesome. So let's start here at the top, right? There you go. Title of the sex tape. We'll start on top. Lamar Jackson, of course. Just massive upside. You're getting a quarterback who threw 30 touchdowns, and you're getting a running back who runs for over 1,100 yards. Now, he's very expensive. He's 8-1 on Fanduel, or on Draftkings, 9,300 on Fanduel. Cleveland was 21st against opposing quarterbacks last year. He put up a 34 and a 27 in those 2 games. Huge upside. Of course, you got to like Lamar Jackson at home in Baltimore, even though, of course, the home field advantages are a little bit different this year. Of course, I like Russell Wilson a lot. And again, on that final look video, we'll go over all the wide receiver cornerback matchups. I will have my wide receiver cornerback matchups, the top 10 wide receiver cornerback matchups here on Draft Dashboard as well. There'll be a link there. I'll have my top 10 PPR rankings for each week, for season long and for DFS. Those will be on here on Draft Dashboard. There's a season-long draft kit right now for those of you still waiting to draft. You got a few more days to do that. And I think you're smart if you've waited till around this time to draft to get all the information you can. I have my top 135 player rankings there on the NFL homepage here on Draft Dashboard as well. So don't forget that link is down there. But yeah, Russell Wilson against what's going to be an interesting Atlanta defense as well. But right now I like Lamar Jackson at the top. Next, let's go to the mid-tier. I could easily just say, oh, my 5 favorite are the 5 most expensive players. That's just stupid and it's disingenuous. So I try to, spread it out a little bit, if you will. Josh Allen, 6'5 on DraftKings, 7'9 on FanDuel. The Jets were 17th against quarterbacks in his 2 games he only played 1 against the Jets last year. He put up a 20. We know the rushing upside. He's going to be a beast at the goal line. Probably even more so. They do have that rookie Zach Moss. But Frank Gore is gone, who ate up some of those goal line carries last year. I like Josh Allen's rushing upside. I think he progresses as a quarterback. They brought in Stephon Diggs. I think Josh Allen's an interesting mid-tier type priced quarterback for week 1. Next, Kyler Murray. Now, he's going up against a tough 49ers secondary. There's no doubt about it. But again, we've got that rushing upside. They added a new weapon, obviously, in DeAndre Hopkins. He's 6'4 on DraftKings, 7'7 on FanDuel. He actually played well. The 49ers were 10th against quarterbacks. He had 50 total DraftKings points in the 2 games last year against the 49ers. I have 0 issues with that. I don't mind Carson Wentz. Again, we're going to cover every player that we like. Throughout the week, we'll start talking value plays, the final look, the core 4, all that stuff. And down here, let's get a little bit of value, shall we? I actually like a couple value quarterbacks, and I'm going to talk about all the value plays in our salary saver video. But I like Gardner Minshew against the Colts. The Colts were 22nd against opposing quarterbacks. They did try to bring in some guys in the secondary, Xavier Rhodes over from Minnesota, etc. He's 5'8 on DraftKings and 6'7 on FanDuel. Here's the bottom line. They don't have Leonard Fournette. I think Raekwon Armstead's probably going to miss this week 1 too. So you're talking about guys like Devine Ozigbo and Chris Thompson. Jacksonville is going to throw the ball a ton. They're going to be behind in a lot of these games. They're not going to have a running game. So even though they're probably not going to win a lot of games, they're going to have a ton of volume. It's going to be a lot like Jameis Winston last year, probably with fewer turnovers. He put up a 26 in his 1 game against the Colts last year. I think that's a nice little value there, I could go to Gardner Minshew. And way down here at the bottom, I don't mind Ryan Fitzpatrick against the Patriots. Now, the Patriots' second defense is still going to be very good. Probably not as dominant as last year. They were hit by a lot of the COVID stuff. Patrick Chung, Hightower, etc. They weren't number one last year against opposing quarterbacks. But again, this is another team that's going to throw the ball a ton. His last game out against the Patriots, he put up a 27. If you're looking to be contrarian and you're making multiple lineups, why not throw, some Trubisky, some Fitzpatrick? If they go off, it's going to set you apart from the rest of the field. So that's my top 5 early quarterbacks, varying through some salaries. Of course, guys like Russell Wilson and Drew Brees are better plays than Ryan Fitzpatrick. But I do like the savings down there. And again, we'll talk about a lot of those guys in our salary saving video. So let's go to running backs. And of course, you've got Christian McCaffrey at the top. I mean, it's just crazy not to. $10K on Draftkings and on Fanduel. He's very expensive. But he's got a chance at a huge game, obviously. The Raiders' defense is young. They just kept getting rid of people and kept getting rid of people. He should be able to feast. It's going to be hard to fit him in. There you go. I'll let you guys all finish that for me. But Christian McCaffrey is in play every week, obviously. Next, Dalvin Cook right below that. 7-9 on DraftKings, 8-7 on FanDuel. The Packers last year were 23rd against opposing running backs. Dalvin Cook had a huge game in the one game he played against the Packers last year with a 31. I know there was some contract worries with Dalvin Cook. Would he hold out? He's not. He's going to be there. It's a good matchup at home in the Dome. I like Dalvin Cook quite a bit. Next, for the Chargers, Austin Eckler against a Bengals team that's going to struggle defensively. He's 7K on DraftKings, 7-7 on FanDuel. We know he's going to see a ton of targets. It's a new offense with Tyrod Taylor at the quarterback position. He's going to see a lot of short throws. He's got running game upside. Austin Eckler against a Bengals team that was 24th last year against opposing running backs. I like Austin Eckler quite a bit. Next, against the team who gave up the most fantasy points in the league to opposing running backs last year, and it doesn't look like that defense got much better, if at all, is the Carolina Panthers. So Josh Jacobs, 6-8 on DraftKings, 8-2 on FanDuel. Again, Carolina allowed the most fantasy points in the league to running backs. DeAndre Washington's out of there, so it's really going to be a ton of Josh Jacobs. I think you see him progress a little bit in that passing game as well. I like Josh Jacobs a lot. I think he's primed to have a nice game on the road in Carolina, not home in Vegas, unfortunately. And then next, who did I have down here? I had one guy down here I wanted to talk about. That's right. Devin Singletary. 5-4 on DraftKings. 6-3 on FanDuel. Love the price for Devin Singletary. It's his job now. There's no Frank Gore to share with. They did bring the rookie Zach Moss in, but we know the upside of Singletary. The Jets were 9th against the run last year. I just think Singletary has a chance to have a really nice game here. He put up a 15 in the one game against them last season. I think Devin Singletary, there's not a ton of super duper cheap plays that I'm in love this week at running back. I think right there at that 5-4, especially on FanDuel there at 6-3, I think that's a really nice price. Big upside, should see a ton of touches, tons of targets. I like Devin Singletary quite a bit. Was that all 5? That was. Let's go to wide receiver. So, at wide receiver, it's so weird. The screen does weird stuff on this monitor. I got this new monitor and I'm still figuring it out. At wide receiver, I mean, it's no secret. Michael Thomas at the top. Now, he's 9K on DraftKings and 8-8 on FanDuel. The Buccaneers allowed the most fantasy points in the league to opposing wide receivers last year, and they didn't do anything to help that secondary. So that secondary is still going to be bad. Of course, Tampa Bay is really good at stopping the run. If you look at his 2 games last year against Tampa Bay, all he put up was a 44 and a 28 on DraftKings. They did bring in Emmanuel Sanders to sort of help with that workload, because you remember it was just every pass was going his way. He's primed for another monster year. It's a great matchup. Tampa Bay's offense should be a little better. They're not going to turn the ball over as much. So the Saints aren't just going to blow this team out week 1. I mean, you wouldn't think so on paper anyways. Michael Thomas is in a great spot. Next, very similar situation, but actually even a little bit better, because another team, the Packers, who were one wide receiver reliant last year, didn't bring in anybody to help Aaron Rodgers or Devontae Adams. So it's the Devontae Adams show. The Vikings shipped out a ton of their secondary. They're going to be very, very young this year. They do have good safeties, But Devontae Adams is 7-3 on DraftKings, 8K on Fanduel. Again, later in the week, I'll have my wide receiver cornerback matchups, the whole 9 yards. A 21 and a 27 in his 2 games against the Vikings last year. They allowed they were 24th in the league against opposing wide receivers. Love Devontae Adams. Should see double-digit targets, big-time upside. Gotta like Devontae Adams. We'll get to those Buccaneers receivers when we do our final look later in the season. Next, here, I talked about that Jacksonville offense. They're going to throw the ball a ton, and I think the guy that you really see step up, even though they do have some nice young players, and they drafted a young guy as well, but I like DJ Chark. 6'3 DraftKings, 6'6 FanDuel. I think he's got big upside. Last year against the Colts, he had one game where he had a 7 on 5 targets, but he also had a 33 in that first game. Love the upside. He was Gardner Minshew's favorite target. I think DJ Chark is primed to have a terrific week 1. Another player, second-year player, who I think is really going to take the leap forward in a great matchup against a rebuilt Atlanta defense with no Desmond Trufant, etc. Going to be another young secondary in Atlanta. Nice high total in this game at 49. I like DK Metcalf. 5'8 on DraftKings, 6'4 on FanDuel. The Falcons were 17th against opposing wide receivers. He did put up a 16 against this Atlanta team last year. Again, the defense is much younger, a totally different look in the Atlanta secondary. They're in the Dome in Atlanta. Nice fast track there. I love the big play upside for DK Metcalf. I think you just see him progress more and more this year. He can have a massive breakout season. One of my favorite wide receivers I drafted in my season-long league as well. Love that price tag. Big-time upside. Sign me up for some DK Metcalf. And then week 1 against his former Washington team. Now, for some of you, this may sound like deja vu because last year we were in the exact same scenario where we said, love Deshaun Jackson against his former team, love the deep ball. He's only going to be healthy for a game or two. And sure as shit, week 1 against Washington, he put up a 38, had 2 deep touchdowns. I love the big play upside. 4-9 on DraftKings, 5-6 on FanDuel. I think Deshaun Jackson's a great price. Love the big play tournament upside. He could smash value at that price. Let's get to the tight ends, shall we? Over at tight end, I mean, it's pretty cut and dry at the top. This is one position where it's like, yeah, you just do like the first 4, right? So George Kittle against the Cardinals. No team in the league allowed more fantasy points to opposing tight ends last year than the Arizona Cardinals. Dead last in the league. He's 7-2 and 8K. So obviously, if you're paying up that much at tight end, which I typically do not do, unless it's like a single game or 2-game slate or something, you need him to have a huge game. He did have a 20 in his one game against the Cardinals last year. He's in a great spot. You're going to have to do some roster gymnastics to fit him in your lineup. But of course, you like George Kittle. Mark Andrews. He was frustrating last year. You can see right here how many snaps. He played on only 41% of the snaps last year for Baltimore. A lot of that's because they had Hayden Hurst and Boyle. Well, Hayden Hurst is now in Atlanta. We're going to get to him in just a moment. So Mark Andrews is going to be on the field more, and we know he's the favorite red zone target of Lamar Jackson. Even in those 41% snaps, he was putting up huge numbers. In the 2 games against Cleveland, he put up 40 DraftKings points, a 27 and a 13. Cleveland allowed the 3rd most fantasy points in the league to opposing tight ends, and he's much cheaper than George Kittle on DraftKings, $1,200 cheaper at 6K. Over on FanDuel, he's 7-4, so he's about $600 cheaper. I like Mark Andrews quite a bit. If you want to be a little bit different, maybe a Mark Andrews, Lamar Jackson stack, I don't mind something like that early on as I look at it. Darren Waller against Carolina. Look, the Raiders lost their number 1 receiver in Tyrell Williams. They have a very young receiving crew with Renfro and Ruggs and all the young players out there. Darren Waller, we saw some big-time upside. We did see sometimes a scary floor, which is most tight ends. But if you look at his last 5 games last year, 4 of them were over double-digit fantasy points. 3 of them were in the 20s. He's 5'9 on DraftKings, 6'9 on FanDuel. I like Darren Waller. And then you got Washington. The Washington Snyders, the footballers, whatever the hell you want to call them. 5'8 on DraftKings for Zach Ertz, 6'7 on FanDuel. Washington allowed the 4th most fantasy points in the league last year to opposing tight ends. He put up a 17 and a 10 in those 2 games. Of course, you like Zach Ertz. And then down here to save some salary, probably right now, my favorite tight end. There you go. Sorry to my ex-wife, but no, I'm kidding. Hayden Hurst is going to take over for Austin Hooper, who went from Atlanta to Cleveland. Hayden Hurst is the main tight end. If you remember Austin Hooper last year, was the number one fantasy tight end until he got hurt. He had a huge season last year. Now he's going into this pass-heavy Atlanta Falcons offense against a Seattle team who allowed the second most fantasy points in the league to opposing tight ends last year. Third. He's 4-3 on DraftKings, 5-3 on Fanduel. I think you see him step right into that Austin Hooper role. The middle of the field is going to be wide open as teams try to deal with Ridley and Julio Jones on the outside. Now they bring in Todd Gurley. Hayden Hurst should have a field day. I love Hayden Hurst week 1 against Seattle. And now let's talk about our top 5 defenses real quick, and we'll get you out of here with our nice early first look at week 1. Man, I'm excited. So the Bills against the Jets, of course. It's Sam Darnold, the Lego policeman, if you will. Pull out, if you have kids, or maybe you're an adult and collect Legos, whatever, pull out your Lego, take a look at Sam Darnold, pull out your policeman or your fireman, and there he is. He's a Lego policeman, Sam Darnold. Buffalo's secondary is legit. That defense is legit. 3-7 on DraftKings, 4-7 FanDuel. Gotta love Buffalo. Any defense, until proven otherwise, against Dwayne Haskins, I'm playing. So I like the Philadelphia Eagles. Now, last year that secondary was dreadful. Well, the Eagles brought in Nickel Roby-Coleman from the Rams. They brought in Darius Slay from Detroit. That secondary is going to be a whole lot better against a Washington team with basically their only weapon is Terry McLaurin. I can see Dwayne Haskins struggling early on. I think there's pick 6 upside in this game. I love the Eagles defense. 3-6 DraftKings, 4-5 on FanDuel. I could certainly go there. Then we got the Patriots against Miami. Again, they took some hits this year. It's going to be a different Patriots team. But we all know if Ryan Fitzpatrick falls off a cliff, he can go out there and throw 6 picks. If you remember, through the first 8 weeks of the year last year, the Patriots were the number 6 overall fantasy scorer, period. They were putting up huge numbers. They're 3-2 on DraftKings, 4-6 on FanDuel. I still think you consider the Patriots. And same thing with Baker Mayfield. Now, you would expect, with Kevin Stefanski there now as the head coach, they're going to be a little bit more balanced, use the play action more. They hardly ever used the play action last year. They have 2 excellent running backs in Chubb and Kareem Hunt. But the Baltimore Ravens against Cleveland, Baker Mayfield is turnover prone. 3-1 on DraftKings, 4-8 on FanDuel. I like him a lot more on DraftKings. And then we get to the LA Chargers. So they're going up against the worst team in the league last year, the Bengals. Rookie number 1 overall pick, Joe Burrow, is going to be starting. A.J. Green back for Cincinnati, etc. They do have weapons there. But that Chargers front 7 is mean. They did lose Derwin James, but they still have an excellent secondary. They brought in Chris Harris from Denver. Could see some growing pains there. Anytime you can give me Bosa and Ingram up against a quarterback making his first ever NFL start, yeah, I'm on board with the Chargers defense. 2,800 on DraftKings, 4,200 on FanDuel. So that's my early look at week 1, my top 5 at each position. Again, you can get access to all the research tools, stats, usage, lineup optimizer, and my player pool as it evolves throughout the week for every sport, including NBA every day. Even if I don't get an NBA video out, I still have my player pool set. Baseball, hockey. You can click that link in the video description below. You can try Draft Dashboard for 30 days for $1. When you do, how you find my player pool is you simply click on your Watched Players tab over here on the left. Now, if you don't have your screen zoomed out like I do and you don't see this menu on the side, you can click the 3 bars here in the top left-hand corner. They'll also say Watch Players there. And then when you do, you'll see a blue box that says Watch DFS Bachelor's Picks, as well as a timestamp in Eastern Time when I last updated the player pool so you know how up to date it is. Like, oh, we added a couple players on Tuesday or Wednesday. So then you can do that, and then you can use it in, of course, the lineup optimizer. You can set your exposures for each player and go to the mass lineup generator and make your lineups exactly how you wish to make them by clicking that up here as well. Look, it even threw out an early lineup. Again, that's way too early for me. There's the cash game optimizer. You can do that for both FanDuel right here or DraftKings. So click that link, try it out for 30 days for $1. Don't forget as well to check out the link for SBR. We'll be live there. You can come answer your questions. Sunday morning, you can just bombard with questions an hour before tip-off, hour before kickoff. Just boom, boom, boom. Of course, Monday Night Football. Come watch the Monday Night Football games with us. We'll be broadcasting those live, doing watch parties, having drinks, making bets. You can ask questions, halftime lineups. Of course, we got a doubleheader, the first one, so we'll be live for 7 hours. All of our opening line shows, handicapping over there. So be sure to check that out. Don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, leave a comment in the comment section, be part of our PayPal giveaway. And also don't forget to check out overlaid DFS as well. The NFL is back. I love you all so much. Thank you all again so much for all your support. Let's have a great football season. We're going to be with you all the way through the Super Bowl. Shit, it's going to be 10 shows a week that you're seeing out of me between the two sites. So I'm really looking forward to it. I appreciate you all so much. Good luck tonight with your NBA, tomorrow with your NBA, everything else. May the fantasy gods be with you all. Thank you all again so much. Goodbye, folks.